She entered with elegance, her smile as polished as the ivory suit she wore. For a moment, everything felt effortless, until it didn't. By the time the cameras cut, millions would be left wondering who truly unraveled. What was meant to be a routine Good Morning America chat with Meghan Markle and Michael Strahan turned into one of the most dissected clashes in morning television history. The studio buzzed with its usual pre-show rhythm. Makeup brushes swept across faces. Producers whispered into headsets and the scent of coffee clung to the air. Michael, calm as ever, skimmed his notes in the green room. He had handled world leaders and Hollywood royalty. But today's guest carried a different charge. Meghan Markle, former duchess, actress, humanitarian, and lightning rod of endless headlines, was here to promote her latest wellness documentary. Officially, the conversation was meant to be safe. Unofficially, everyone knew it could spiral. She arrived early, gracious with the crew, complimenting the set, even cracking jokes. But beneath the charm lingered something unreadable, a flicker just behind her eyes. At 8:17 a.m., the red light on camera 3 blinked on. Michael smiled to America. "We have a very special guest this morning. Meghan Markle is here to talk about her new documentary and life beyond the spotlight." "Meghan, welcome back." "Thank you, Michael." "It's always a pleasure," she replied smoothly, every word measured. The first stretch was easy. Wellness, motherhood, philanthropy. Meghan spoke with Polish, weaving in phrases like authenticity and healing. But then Michael shifted. "You've worn many hats. Actress, activist, royal. Looking back at your acting career, did it prepare you for the scrutiny that came later?" Her face remained calm for a beat too long. Then her eyes narrowed. "I think it's reductive to focus on my acting when there's so much more to who I am now, Michael." He nodded, unfazed. "Of course. But don't you think those roles shaped how people perceive you today?" Meghan let out a clipped laugh. "Perception is interesting. People believe what they're told, especially by the media." The chill in her tone wasn't lost on the control room. A producer muttered into her headset, "Oh-ho." Michael leaned forward, still steady. "Fair point. But I'd argue interviews like this let people hear directly from you." Her smile flickered. "I suppose, if the questions are thoughtful." A silence hung, long enough for viewers to feel it. Michael turned the card in his hand. "There's been speculation that your relationship with the press played a part in the breakdown with the royal family. Looking back, is that fair?" The smile vanished. Meghan crossed her legs deliberately, her voice cool. "That's an oversimplification. I left because I wanted peace. For my children to grow up in a world where their mother isn't dissected on national television. And yet, here I am again." Michael raised a brow. "And yet, you've chosen to stay public. Documentaries, podcasts, interviews like this. Some might say you stepped out of one spotlight, only to create another." The air in the studio thickened. Meghan answered with an icy smirk. "Are you suggesting that speaking on my own terms is the same as being hunted by tabloids?" "Not at all," Michael replied smoothly. "I'm just saying the transition wasn't exactly a retreat from attention." The camera edged closer. The tension itself was now part of the broadcast. "Unlike tabloids," Meghan shot back. "I choose the narrative. That's something you can't understand unless you've lived it." Michael's composure held. "I'd argue I understand public pressure better than most. Between journalism and professional sports, I've lived both worlds." A silence lingered. Two professionals locked in a quiet struggle for control. Michael pivoted. "Let me ask you this. Did your departure from royal duties have anything to do with your past? Your upbringing? Hollywood? Did any of that clash with the crown's expectations?" Meghan didn't blink. "If you're asking if I was too American for the monarchy, the answer is yes. And I wear that like a badge of honor." A ripple of awkward laughter broke from the audience. Michael smiled politely, though his eyes stayed sharp. "And has that cultural clash affected your relationship with Prince Harry?" Her voice chilled. "My marriage is not public entertainment, Michael. I came here to discuss real work, not feed tabloid fantasies. No disrespect, he countered. But people are curious. You and Harry have become symbols of change. Part of that story is how you support each other. Symbols, Meghan repeated, almost amused. Or targets. The humor never touched her voice. The studio froze. Crew members stilled, waiting. Michael pressed, steady as stone. Depends who you ask. Some say you've reshaped narratives. Others say you blur the line between privacy and publicity. And some, Meghan said flatly, just like hearing themselves talk. A shockwave ran through the control room. Did she just say that? A producer muttered, standing halfway out of her chair. Michael didn't flinch. He leaned back, nodding as if thoughtful. Well, I hope I'm asking questions our viewers care about. And I hope, Meghan snapped, folding her arms, that they care about what matters. Mental health, education, equity. Not whether my marriage is gossip fodder. Michael's smile tightened, the broadcaster's mask still in place. Then let's dig into that, if you're open. The battle lines were drawn now, civil, but sharp. The air in the Good Morning America studio grew heavier by the second. Michael's practiced polish held, but in his eyes was something harder. Not irritation, not anger. Resolve. Meghan had shifted too. No leaning forward, no polished grin. She sat back, relaxed, almost defiant, twirling the corner of a cue card as if she owned the set. Michael cleared his throat, steady. Meghan, I appreciate your honesty about the media. But let's pivot. Something a lot of viewers want to know. Did Hollywood prepare you for Buckingham Palace? For a moment, Meghan blinked, caught off guard. Then the smile returned, cooler, sharper. You mean, do I think playing a paralegal on Suits prepared me to sit beside the Queen? No, Michael. That's a rather silly comparison, don't you think? Michael didn't flinch. Not at all. Many people change careers. I only wondered if there were parallels. Public scrutiny, balancing personal identity with duty. Meghan's eyes narrowed. What you're really asking is whether I was worthy of the role. No, Michael countered evenly. I'm asking if your past helped or hurt the transition. Did you feel prepared? She gave a brittle laugh. Prepared for a family who treated me like a prop in their historical drama? No script could have prepared me for that. Behind the cameras, producers shifted. The director mouthed, "Let it play." They knew they had viral gold. Michael turned a page. Let's talk about the decision to step back. Speculation suggests the tensions weren't just with the press, but inside the palace itself. Meghan's expression darkened. Oh, here we go, she muttered. Michael pressed on. Unconfirmed reports suggested some felt you resisted adapting to the institution, that you didn't want to play by the rules. A sharp inhale from someone off camera. Meghan's stare was unblinking. And I suppose you're quoting those anonymous palace insiders, the ones who never show their faces, but always have plenty to say. Michael stayed silent. The pause was his weapon now. Meghan's voice dropped, lower, heavier. I know it's easy to paint me as the difficult one. People love that narrative, especially when it's a woman, especially when it's a woman of color. But let me ask you, Michael, would you ask the same questions if your guest were a man who married into the monarchy? Michael's face remained neutral, polished. I ask what the audience wants to know. That's my job. And yet, Meghan replied, a condescending smile tugging at her lips, you keep circling the same implication, that I caused my own problems. Michael flipped his card slowly. Is that not a possibility? Her smirk faded. I think we both know what kind of interview this really is. You're not here to learn about me. You're here to chip away. Politely, with a smile. But a chisel is still a chisel. Michael nodded, acknowledging the strike but not retreating. I respect your view. But let me ask one last question. Meghan crossed her arms. Go on. Your relationship with Prince Harry. Michael began carefully. There have been reports, separate travels, public disagreements. Any comment? Meghan laughed outright this time, sharp and cutting. I won't entertain tabloid trash, Michael. If your questions come from supermarket headlines, maybe you should be the one playing a paralegal. The hit landed. Crew members winced. Michael blinked once, then smiled. Not his TV smile. A different one. The kind that said, "Now you've shown them who you are. I ask because your supporters, the people who stood by you, are wondering if you and Harry are okay. If you don't want to answer, that's your right. But dismissing the question doesn't make it go away." Meghan shifted in her seat, the first sign of discomfort. Her voice lowered, edged with steel. You know what's funny? People pretending to be respectful while slipping in their little digs. You've mastered it, Michael. It's an art form. And you've perfected the art of avoiding accountability. Michael said, still calm. I am, Meghan replied, her voice like glass. Silence. The director's hand hovered over the cut signal, frozen. Michael glanced at his notes but didn't need them. Let's talk about your production company. Are you focusing more on documentaries or scripted content? Meghan didn't answer. Arms folded, eyes locked on him. She looked like a chess player who'd just realized she was 5 moves from checkmate. Michael let the silence stretch until it became part of the segment. Meghan, he prompted softly. She blinked once. The mask slipped. I think, she said slowly, we should wrap this up. Michael nodded. If that's your choice. But everyone in the studio could feel it. This wasn't over. Not even close. She thought she could control the conversation, but the room had shifted. The charm was cracking. With Strahan holding his ground, the tension boiled over. What happened next had producers scrambling and viewers speechless. The air in the Good Morning America studio turned dense, electric. Meghan crossed her legs, angled her body slightly away from Michael. It was subtle but unmistakable. The gloves were off. Michael sat perfectly still, cue cards idle in his hands. He didn't need them anymore. Before we close, he said evenly, there's one more thing the audience has been buzzing about. Your recent public comments about the monarchy, calling it, quote, a dusty institution built on outdated ideals. Meghan tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Is that really how you want to end this, Michael? You said it. He replied, unflinching. I'm asking if you still stand by it. I said what needed to be said, she answered coolly. Not everyone has the courage to speak out when something is wrong. Michael leaned in slightly. Some would argue you walked into an ancient system with your own expectations and got upset when it didn't bend to you. Her expression hardened. I walked into that system as a wife, a mother, a humanitarian, Meghan said, her voice tightening. Not as someone staging a coup, but when I saw what it did to my husband, to my mental health, I chose peace. And the book deal? Michael asked without blinking. The docuseries? The Spotify contract? Were those about peace too? It was the question everyone had danced around, now hanging in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Meghan sat back. Her silence said more than words could. Look, she said at last, her veneer thinning. I'm not here to justify my existence or my choices. I have a platform, I use it. Isn't that what you people always say? Use your voice? Absolutely, Michael said. But when that voice comes with millions of dollars and global exposure, it also comes with scrutiny. You don't get to opt out of that, she snapped. And who decided you get to lecture me about scrutiny? Michael leaned back, folding his hands. I'm not lecturing. I'm interviewing. Or at least I was. The producers were frozen. No commercial break, no cut. This was too good to interrupt. Meghan's jaw clenched. You've been towing the line this whole time, Michael. Pretending to be fair while dragging up every hit piece written about me. I didn't write those pieces, he said. But I read them, just like your audience does. And now you're their mouthpiece, "No," he said simply. "But I'm not yours either." The silence that followed was volcanic. Meghan broke it with a sharp inhale. "You know what I think? I think you had your narrative planned the moment I walked in. You wanted the viral clip, the soundbite. You don't care about my work or my truth. This was a setup." Michael raised his brows. "And yet you walked into it," her eyes flashed. "Because I believed this would be different. I thought you would be different." He shrugged. "Maybe you didn't do your homework." That was it. Meghan pulled her blazer tighter, as if shielding herself from the air itself. "I think we're done here," she said through clenched teeth. Michael didn't flinch. "One last thing," he said, holding up a card. "You said recently in a speech that the truth has no expiration date. Is that still your belief?" Meghan didn't look at him. "Play your clip, Michael. Get your moment." But he didn't. He just waited. She stood abruptly, heels clicking against the floor like a metronome counting down the end of a public unraveling. She vanished off camera, the faint slam of the backstage door echoing across the studio. Michael remained seated, exhaling only when the silence grew unbearable. No one spoke until the floor director whispered, "We're out in 3, 2, 1. The screen faded to commercial, but the room stayed frozen. Michael sat back, cool as ice. Meghan had leaned forward moments earlier, visibly rattled, her polished image fraying thread by thread. "Let's be honest," she'd said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, her tone clipped. "There's only so much anyone can take of this interrogation." Michael hadn't blinked. "You're free to answer, or not answer, any question, Meghan. But remember, this is live television, and you agreed to be here." She laughed dryly. "Oh, please, don't act like this wasn't a trap. You invited me here under the guise of promoting my work, then spent 20 minutes fishing for headlines about my husband and my past." Michael clasped his hands. "I asked about your career, your choices, your public journey. You're one of the most talked about women in the world. I'd be doing the audience a disservice if I didn't ask what they're already wondering." Her glare sharpened. "No, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by pretending you're Barbara Walters." Gasps rippled through the control room. The crew froze. The sting of the comparison hung in the air. Michael's jaw tightened. He leaned in, voice still smooth. "I don't pretend to be anyone, Meghan. I'm Michael Strahan, and I've earned my seat, just like you've earned yours." But Meghan was spiraling. "Let's be real. If my name was still Meghan Markle, the actress from Suits, you wouldn't even have me here. You'd be interviewing another quarterback." Michael smiled, not out of amusement but realization. "You might be right, but here's the difference. I'd still treat them with respect." That landed. Meghan blinked, at a loss for words. Then slowly, dramatically, she rose from her chair, as if preparing her final monologue. "You know what?" she said, laying her microphone on the side table. "I don't have to stay here and endure amateur journalism dressed up as morning fluff." Michael didn't move. "You're free to leave. But walking out doesn't make the questions disappear." She adjusted her ivory blazer, chin lifted high. "And staying doesn't make your questions any less shallow." With that, she turned and strode out. The studio doors didn't slam, but they might as well have. Cameras kept rolling. Michael stayed composed, then looked directly into the lens. "Well," he said with a measured pause, "live TV, folks. Sometimes you get inspiration, sometimes confrontation, and sometimes—" he gave the faintest steel-edged smile. "You get someone walking out because they didn't like the questions." Fade to commercial, but the clip would not. By noon, it had gone viral. "So, what do you think? Did Michael cross a line? Or was Meghan too defensive for her own good? Let us know in the comments below. And for more raw, unscripted celebrity clashes, subscribe to Sci-Fi Reactions, because the most shocking moments are the ones no one planned.